I spoke to a rejuvenated John Fogerty earlier today as he prepared for the opening concert of his Australian tour. It's the stuff of legends, really, 7 albums in 3 or 4 years, producing some of the great rock classics, and then just disappearing in a cloud of bitterness.
Well, I didn't plan it that way. That's all I can say about it.
To be that frenetic and to feel the success building around you and then to just cut it off like that, and to deny yourself your own music must have taken an iron will.
You know, it was tough. It didn't happen all at once. It kind of evolved, the shutdown. But, you know, if you're not in control of your own destiny and you've already done something that's succeeding very well, there's a point you reach you just reach the realization, gee, I'd be a fool to keep doing this and giving it to somebody else to own. I could have made 100 more hits and still wouldn't have bettered my situation. So I had to stop, and I did.
How tough was it watching your contemporaries and others that came after you, like Bruce Springsteen, just continuing to hit their stride, making winners, if you like, while you sat watching on? The principle was that important to you?
It still is. Oh, it still is. Yeah, it's tough. It's like you're an athlete, and you know you've only got so much time. But, I mean, the principle is basically, what is it? I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And this, you know, I had already achieved considerable success. It's just that I didn't own the legal and financial part of it. So the world knew what I was capable of, and so did I. But to just continue to be a slave, it's really not an option if you think about it. I had gone to see Taj Mahal, who was the headliner. People would come over and tell me, well, you know, Bob Dylan's here tonight. I'm like, really? And then as I passed over to, you know, to sit down, I actually went in front of Bob, right? So he knew I was there. Sitting next to him was George Harrison. I thought that was pretty remarkable in and of itself, and that we were really there to see Taj Mahal. In other words, we kind of liked the same music. And then Taj began to play, and you know, one by one, he invited Bob up there, and he invited George, and he invited me. And it's such a fragile thing. You don't know how long that's going to last. You know, I looked around, somebody handed me a guitar. I went, well, yeah, I'm going to get up there. This is history, you know. We were on the stage probably 45 minutes to an hour, all of us all together. And I'll never forget, I stood across from George singing into the same microphone while Taj sang Twist and Shout, and George and I went, ooh. I got to be a Beatle for 3 minutes, you know. It was pretty neat. One by one, the crowd kind of coaxed or egged us on to each person sang one of their own famous songs. And it got around to me, and I was still in that stance where I wasn't doing, you know, my famous songs with Creedence. And that's when Bob Dylan turned to me and said, well, John, if you don't do Proud Mary, everybody's going to think it's a Tina Turner song. And, well, there was a lot of logic in that. That made a lot of sense. So, of course, I sang Proud Mary. I wasn't going to disappoint Bob Dylan.
Is it also true that that part of the inspiration in coming back for you was, and putting the bitterness behind you, was visiting the grave of that great blues legend, Robert Johnson? Yeah, that's really where it happened. And to try and say it all in a short period of time, I had begun to make several trips to Mississippi, and I really didn't know why I was going there. So the best thing that I could figure out to do, because I was sort of called or urged, you know, from inside, and I didn't understand it. So I started visiting, you know, you might say looking up old ghosts, because I loved the music and I loved these people, but I didn't know a lot about them. And to be able to actually go, at least where legend said Robert Johnson was buried, I found myself, you know, I wanted to touch the tree that he's supposedly buried under. And you end up, you know, and the hot sun's beating down, and you're standing and reflecting, and I thought about different things I knew about Robert, and at some point it occurred to me, well,
I wonder who owns his songs, who's getting the benefit. That's a kind of a natural question, but then the sort of cynic in me took over. Yeah, probably some wise guy in Manhattan in a tall building with a cigar. I mean, I just had this image. All these guys have been ripped off so much, you know. And I finally went, because that was a disturbing image, you know. Oh, it doesn't matter. We all know they're Robert's songs. Robert is the spiritual owner. And once I said that, I realized that it had a great parallel with my own life. When I said to myself, it doesn't matter, John, you're the spiritual owner of your songs, that gave me permission in my own mind. That was the way for me to begin to perform my songs again and just sidestep all the crap.
And finally, now that you are well and truly back on the road, your live performances, performing in front of the audiences again, there must be a hunger there. I mean, what's it like? How satisfying is it?
For me, it's just fun. I mean, there is definitely the hunger that you mentioned. I think my own pride, my own desire to please myself, just, you know, it keeps you wanting each night to be better than the last.
Well, that's good news for your fans. John Fogerty, thanks very much for talking with us.
Thank you, Kerry, very much.
The comeback kid, John Fogerty, will perform in all mainland capitals except Perth. Christmas